This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the still eating her dinner, C.R. Rice. And I want you to add that to the business card as previously discussed.
Who said it's dinner?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a snack.
Maybe your tone on the podcast. Just kidding. Our amazing guest tonight is Ty Carlson. Woo! Woo! Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking. Oh, this episode is sponsored by Skunk Brothers Spirits. I will always remember these things. I wonder if they listen to these episodes and eventually they're going to be like, you need to stop saying our name. No, Skunk Brothers Spirits, veteran-owned distillery in Washington State. Amazing. It's owned by brothers. And if you would purchase any of their amazing items, use DWA10 to get an awesome discount. I am not drinking Skunk Brothers tonight because I was drinking some of their Lightning, which is their 80 proof, basically kills my brain. It's amazing, but you could put it in a watermelon. Actually, I just realized that. You know how people put like Everclear and stuff like that in a watermelon? You could do that with Lightning.
Have you ever done you cut the very top of a watermelon, you take a blend, like a mixer, you run it through and then you douse it with alcohol, create a little plug thing at the bottom to just like serve it out?
Yeah, no, see, that's a lot of effort. So what I do is I just put a little
summer party, Erica.
You know,
summer party, just stop by the house.
Yeah, you put way more effort into these things than I do. Okay, so what I'm drinking though is Samuel Smith Organic Handcrafted Fruit Ale Raspberry, a product of England. It's almost gone. It's really, really good. And it's got a scroll on the front of it. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know what it says.
What's the percentage
But
on
it's
that?
got a scroll. It's got red writings. No, nobody should do that. Oh, it's brewed at Melbourne Brothers Ancient Brewery in Stamford, Lincolnshire, except for then it says bottled in Washington. I don't know. Okay, I don't know where the false advertising on this particular bottle is, but it's pretty good. CR, what are you drinking?
I am drinking raspberry and vodka because I haven't been feeling well.
Raspberry or cranberry? Did I fuck you up with the raspberry part?
Shit. Yes, you did. It's cranberry, but I do have cran raspberry.
Oh, that went down.
Oh no.
I am currently drinking cranberry and vodka.
Yikes.
Oh my God,
How many
Ty?
of those have you had?
Oh, right now it's probably 10 or 12. Okay, Ty, what are you drinking?
Somewhere in there.
I'm on my third Scarlet Letter. It is by a local brewery called Core Brewery. It's just a seltzer, and this is the limited edition release, and it's very tasty, and it that kind of buzzed feeling sneaks up on you, which is why I love it.
Oh,
that's why you don't count.
So if you try the Lightning as previously discussed, that buzz feeling will not sneak up on you.
It just haymakers you right out of.
Yeah, it just fucking close.
It's called Lightning for a reason.
Yeah, it's terrifying. There. Okay, rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite book of all time?
Ender's Game.
Ooh.
Mine too. I wish.
What do you think of the movie?
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't either.
So I never saw the movie. Is this I don't want to talk about it because the movie is bad or because it's bad based off of the book?
If you have never read the book, the movie's great. If you've read the book, the entire time you're kind of like, wait a second. Really? It was fine. Okay. It's worth watching. I mean, if you love Ender's Game, it's worth watching, but just don't go in with like high expectations. I'm a purist when it comes to books to movies, which is my
We're going to go down that route.
You can't be. It's fan fiction. It's fan fiction.
Right.
Movies you got to treat like fan fiction. It's a rule to live by.
I use that as the test though. Is like what is it like compared to the book? And I'm always disappointed. Always disappointed.
Well, I also have to say I really wish Orson Scott Card wasn't such a D-bag, but anyway, he's kind of that it sucks because I read Ender's Game a long time ago, many moons ago, and I was It was the first book I ever stayed up all night and didn't put down, like fell asleep because I passed out with the book. And I was 12 years old when I read it, and I loved it. And now that somehow he's been allowed out of his cage, he's just a big pile of dicks. But the book's amazing.
You just got a mental picture of that. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
But you can order and send people big bags of dicks. You know that, right?
Yes.
So
Or
The
little
terrifying moment is when you go for the cheap person. Like, you know how they always have those horror stories where you go for the cheap person on like Etsy or
Yeah.
Amazon or something, and you legitimately get a bag of like severed penises. That is my fear.
has that
That's
happened
why
to you?
I
Because-
Yeah, that's my question. Has that?
So this is why. So I read
Okay.
a story the other day. This lady, okay. So I've been doing some shopping on Etsy. Husband's birthday's coming on, right? So this lady goes and she's like, you can get 20 rabbit's feet for $1.99. And I'm like, what? That's not possible. The review was, she legitimately sent this woman like rabbit's feet. Like, she cut them off on her kitchen table or something and sent her a bag of still bleeding rabbit's feet. So like
Cool.
now every time somebody says something like that, that's all I think about. Like, you're gonna get that psycho person that's like, hey, these people are buying rabbit's feet left and right. Let's
That's a
just go
good
chop these
horror
fuckers
story
off.
idea.
Like,
That is a great horror
Yes.
story idea.
And no one would be any wiser. I mean, that's
Exactly.
great.
Hold on.
Exactly.
I'm writing it down because I'm like, that's a great horror story idea.
It was one of those things. That's why I read reviews. She gets fantastic story ideas from reviews. If you ever get bored, look up an obscure thing that you might buy and just read the worst reviews.
People are so untrustworthy, though. I don't like people. Can I say
Well,
that?
Humans
Why do you
are
think I've been so
bastards.
excited about the pandemic?
Okay. So what is your least favorite book?
I don't have a least favorite book. I can find the good in like all of them.
Oh God, that's nauseating.
Okay, I take that back. The Road.
You know what? We went from here. We are now here. Like,
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't pick up a book to read it unless I'm positive that I will enjoy it. And then even the books that I don't enjoy, I'm kind of like, I mean, that like this character was cool, so like it's cool. It's cool. It's a good book.
you're a pleaser. You're a people pleaser.
Oh, you
100%.
J.M. Paquette. Oh, ugh.
That's why we work so well together. Me
Yeah,
and Ben,
no,
we're just
totally.
like,
Because ew on that. Okay. So let's talk about, even though you said you don't like them, I actually finally got her to stop reading books all the way through because I'm like, you don't have the time for this. What are you doing? If it's
But
garbage,
how long
stop
does it
reading
take her to read it?
No, she's
I read a
super
book
fast.
a day.
She's super fast, but it's still you've now given that time to somebody. If you're not actually
touche.
enjoying it, I don't.
It's the Corey
no.
principle.
I do not have the time or inclination to give my time to somebody if I'm not enjoying the book.
I
It might
call
not
it
be
the Corey
for me.
principle. If
What?
you have to sigh, I call it the Corey principle. I mean, you know Corey. If you have to sigh twice, it's not worth your time.
It's true. It's true. True story. There are many people like that for me
If
too.
anybody
Okay.
knows him.
So, what is your favorite book to movie or TV show? Even though you said you don't love them, do you have one that you did go, okay, that wasn't so bad?
Yes. So I really loved the It adaptations.
Which one?
I loved 1. 2 was very
What
enjoyable.
year?
Which one though?
Oh, the new ones.
Okay.
2000.
I have to
18,
say,
whatever.
I love Tim Curry as Pennywise. I still love
Yeah.
Tim Curry as Pennywise.
You want to know a very childish thing? I have
Yes.
never seen them. I am terribly, terribly terrified of clowns. I snuck out. I was that little kid that snuck out when my mom and dad were watching it. When I was a little kid, I was like 4 years old. It's literally my first memory is the dude jumping out of the fucking grate. That was it. Cannot do clowns.
Ugh.
Can't do it.
I didn't read it until I was an adult. I wasn't allowed to read Stephen King when I was little. So when I became an adult, I said, this is the first thing that I'm going to read of Stephen King's, and I read it and I loved it, and I've read it maybe 4 or 5 times since. And so when the movies came out, I was like, all right, this is going to be either awesome or terrible. And I loved the first one, and the second one, It Chapter 2, I think is what it's called. I was like, yeah, this is different than the book. And so in that respect, I was like, man, that's kind of sucky.
Well, there are several things in that book that we're not.
I was gonna say, wasn't that
movie
book like very, very bad? Like, didn't Stephen King come out and say he was on like shrooms or something when he wrote?
Oh no, he was really drunk when he wrote the book, on drugs.
It's something about a turtle.
There's a space turtle, and
yes, okay.
There is a middle grade orgy scene.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Like, but if you can ignore,
I never read it. If you can ignore the giant preteen sex age, okay. Ignore the preteen sex scene.
The turtle's important though. The turtle ties it into like everything else he writes. So
the turtle that I have never actually seen.
No, you actually have the turtle. Believe it or not, in the book, the turtle does make sense. If you read the book, it's just when you hear there's a giant space turtle, you know, you got to remember that it is a space creature too. Anyway. Okay.
I don't know because I've never read it because it haunted my dreams for like a year.
Well, the book,
I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. Like I had dreams of like, I remember being a little kid. It's some of my first memories of just like a clown in my dreams, just folding balloon animals. For no fuck, I know nothing about the movie. I have absolutely no idea. But there was like balloon animals and there was like creepy clown. Can't do it. I am 30 years old. Will never be able to deal with a clown.
Because I remember that. That's going to come up.
Do not bring a clown to my house.
All right.
So that's going to come up later. Anyway, moving on. What you said you didn't like a lot of them. What is the one that you were like, oh my God, they did so bad at this adaptation? I hate it.
The Hobbit. Hands down, The Hobbit.
I love those movies.
Get out. Get out.
You know what? We're here. I will say though, so this is the difference. I treat movies to books or shows to books like fan fiction. I do not expect them to go based off of the books.
Well, I'll tell you though, on The Hobbit though, is a book that's like this big.
Exactly.
And you need 9 movies.
So good. It was 3 movies.
Whatever, 9 hours.
Yeah. So good.
The book is my second favorite book of all time. And I left. I didn't even go to the theater to watch the third one. I went to the theater for the first one. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is great. Okay. There's some freedom that he takes with this. Fine. And then the second one, I was like, what are you doing? What is this? And the third one, I just was like, whatever. The entire movie is the last 2 chapters of the book. You've made, okay. I don't want to get on the soapbox.
On the soapbox. You've had some seltzer.
You have climbed the soapbox.
I hate the Hobbit movies. Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings was like, he's a god among ants, and now all of a sudden the Hobbit came out and was like, yikes.
The Lord of the Ring movie drives me insane. First of all, the book is bad enough. How are you going to decide to? I did too. Your meter has steadily dropped. Okay.
Your meter will go back up again. She just needs to. You just show up as a clown at her house. It's fine.
That is not going to help it go up.
Happy birthday.
That is not funny.
That was going to be very funny.
I'll
it will
record
probably be one of the few times in my life that I legitimately cry. Like, do not bring a clown to my house. I have a very protective husband. I just want everybody to know that.
He'll be in on it, obviously.
Obviously.
He probably will, Erica.
Oh, I know. Trust me. You picked the wrong person to tangle with on this. But you were trying to make a point. I'd like you to eventually get there if you can. Are you going to get there?
Well, I don't know.
What you were talking about, don't you?
Okay, so my thing is the Lord of the Rings. Okay, it goes, and they could have just flown the damn eagles. Why did they get off of him? Okay, you could have just got across, in, out, bing, bang, boom, done. Instead, you
Okay,
gotta
So now
traumatize
we're moving
people.
on to the next question. Chelsea, if you could be a character, I'm using Chelsea's question. Obviously, I need to rein her in. She needs another bite of her fucking hamburger. Something's happening. So this is why when people ask me if this podcast is scripted, I'm like, yeah, good luck with that shit. So if you could be any character, fictional character, but you have to live their life. You don't just get to be the character and live your life. You have to live their story. Who would you want to be?
Thomas Covenant. I don't know if you've ever read the Thomas Covenant trilogy. I don't know. No, I don't have them up there. They're terrible. I mean, no. They're amazing. The main character is terrible. Like
Was that a
you
Freudian
don't like
slip?
him at all. No, it was a Scarlet Letter
Is
slip.
he like Dresden or Dexter?
No, so okay. Dexter
I feel
was
like
another
I'm
one that I could
opening
do.
so many wounds.
I'm
I
sorry.
feel like
I
Are you
love
saying you
Dexter.
have an issue with Dexter? Because we're gonna go way down.
No. Dexter's like one of my favorite shows ever in the history of television. It's the pinnacle of television.
Did you see this
it's pretty
last
good.
season? Because I just finished the last season,
I
and
did not. What, is it worth it?
I think so because
Okay.
it's a variation, but the way they ended the original show with a fucking hurricane and all that lumberjack bullshit, fuck that.
Oh, I gotta stop you. I never watched the last season of any show.
It involves a
Hold
hurricane
on.
and a lumberjack.
What? That's like not reading the last chapter of every book.
It's not, because have you ever had a show that gets canceled early? Okay, so I watch a lot of anime. Okay.
Okay.
I watch a lot of anime. Shit gets canceled all the time.
Right.
Like left and right all the time. If you watch that last season, you're constantly wanting more because you know it's not coming. Same thing with normal TV. So like Psych is one of my all-time number one favorite show in the entire universe. I did not watch the last season until they announced the Psych movie was coming out. Because if you watch, it's the same reason I haven't finished Supernatural. If you watch the end, it's over. Like that's the end of it.
I can tell you from having finished half of the last season of Supernatural, don't.
Yeah, I know. Fucking God brings all the shit back. We have an old.
Yeah.
Went down the rails.
Seems like you struck a nerve there.
Oh, I get to, but anyway, the last season of Dexter, and it's been 10 years, so I can talk about the fucking ending to the other one, but I have to say, I felt like it gave it a better ending and also made you realize like you want to root for Dexter. And most of the show, you're rooting for Dexter and you feel bad when he goes through things. And it started getting a little hairy for him at the end, so to speak, not his stepdad, but like weird. But I will say this is his child is in this. Harrison shows up in this season if you haven't seen it.
So
And
you're saying that the new season gives a better ending, or the
way
season
better
of
ending
Dexter?
to me.
Okay,
Way better ending.
okay. You know they renewed it for 2 more seasons.
Did they?
Yeah,
Seriously?
I thought I read.
It would be
believe so.
interesting if they did that because of the ending, but
I'm pretty. Maybe it was one of those fan things I read, but something.
it would have to be because of the ending.
Oh wait, I can't cover my ears. I have Bluetooth in.
No, it's fine. I'm not going to give it away. Okay.
You're only
So-
making it louder.
What? Why don't you ask your supernatural creature question, Chelsea?
Okay, if you could be any supernatural creature, who would you be and why?
Because they're
A
creepy
gargoyle?
and they come alive like at night and they just watch everybody during the day. That's
But
awesome.
you know the actual myth of the gargoyle?
Yes, but I'd still be it.
You know,
I mean, come
Chelsea,
on.
you got to stop judging people when they answer this question you ask them.
What
'cause
what did you want to be, like vampire or like werewolf? Well, those are
Absolutely
so
not.
cool.
Nobody should live eternally. That's a cruel and unusual punishment. Everybody thinks it's
Okay,
great
fair.
until it's not. He's just gargoyle. Like, do you understand how they met their end? And like,
Okay, Chelsea, tell him what you would be, because
I would be an
What would you be?
elemental. I would be an elemental.
Okay, all right.
what kind of element?
I would probably be Earth. You get,
Yeah, I know.
because
See, that's
the
why
secret behind it is you get a tie into everything without being a part of everything.
So
And
in
they have
case
the
you're wondering
coolest
what an
face.
antisocial writer would be if they could be a
Yes,
supernatural
that's exactly
creature.
right. I want to watch everybody else do their thing, and I'm just going to kind of hang
Right.
back and be like, oh, that's neat. I wouldn't have done that. Yeah, good for you.
Exactly. Perfect. All right, Erica, what was yours?
What supernatural creature would I be? I think initially I would be a werewolf, but like the underworld kind of werewolves, where massively fucking wear out because I get pissed. The other thing I think I'd have a good time being is a siren.
See, I was thinking succubus. I think that would be
Succubus
super
would be
fun.
cool.
Well, I think
you ever
that's
seen Lost
inherently
Girl?
what I would be if I was thrust into being a supernatural creature. That's what I would end up being, because it wouldn't be like you get to choose. It would be like you're suddenly, and I'm like, son of a bitch. That's what would happen.
But a succubus,
I
you'd be
saw
like
this
the enemy
coming.
of so many people, you know?
Well, a
It'd be-
succubus, no, because I think the succubus, I've written a story about a succubus that's
Okay.
I'm working on. It's a succubus bank robber, believe it or not, in the Old West. It's a whole,
Oh my
it's
god,
pretty
I'm so
cool.
excited.
But the way I wrote the succubus and the history is she appears to be whatever you want as a fantasy. So it's very hard to hunt something because she's going to look like whatever you want her to look like. So you would see her differently than Chelsea would see her, differently than other people would see her.
So I have something similar in one of the realms. So there is a form, I can't say, but so it's essentially, it's a succubus, and that's almost exactly what they do. They change and it's one of the biggest myths with succubus. It's one of the reasons why there's no confirmed whatever, I know mythology, all that. But so it's one of those things, they change your mood. So like, even if you think you got them, you don't, because you're like, oh, that's just a sweet old lady, or oh, that's just a little girl, even if that is not what's right in front of you. They're so manipulative and so amazing.
Yes,
they're my heroes.
No idea what that's like.
Interesting. So manipulative and so amazing.
They're my heroes.
All right.
Well,
everybody needs a hero.
Well, and also the supernatural creature has to do with whatever story you're in. If you look at, for instance, the way White Wolf wrote all the vampire movies and stuff, vampire games and things like that. In the vampire game, the vampires, the werewolves are fucking terrifying to the vampires. They're scary as shit. But if you play the werewolf game, the vampires are scary as shit. You play the mage game, like, you can go down this whole rabbit hole. So I think it partially depends on what kind of world that I'm in, what kind of creature I would want to be.
That's fair.
I want to go straight Lost Girl. Has anybody seen the Lost Girl?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I want.
Okay.
She's my hero.
Yeah. Terrifying. Okay, next question, Chelsea.
Okay, what is the craziest thing or lie that you have ever said to get out of something? Okay, nobody's listening. It's fine. It's just between
Fair
us.
enough.
This
fair
isn't
enough.
recorded and it's not shared on any social platform.
It won't be on the internet for the rest of your life and beyond.
I told a professor in college, I told a professor in college that I missed the final, and it was because I was up late playing a video game, and so I overslept with my alarm, and I emailed her and I said, hey, I'm super sorry. I was at the hospital last night because my brother has cancer and he was dying. I have brothers, but none of them have cancer. And that was a big lie. That was a big fat lie. And I've felt guilty about it ever since.
Did you do your Hail Marys?
I was going to say, or whatever, like, I'm sure we can find a spell somewhere if you want that.
I've asked for forgiveness.
There is.
Very cool. Okay, so What is my next question? Let me think about this.
If you could be the friend of any character, who would the character be? Well, Erica figures out hers.
The friend of any character?
Like fictional character.
Any fictional character. It can be a main character, side character, anybody you want. If you could be a friend, who would you be?
Have you ever read Critical Failures?
Yes, I love that.
Robert
Bevan is one of.
Hold on, I'm writing that down.
Oh my God, I love that man so much.
Oh, he's amazing.
Critical Failures.
Critical Failures. It's based on it's a Creatures and Caverns series.
Yes.
And it's based in it's like a D&D world, but it's this story of these people that live in this small town that own a chicken, like a fried chicken stand. They're fucking terrible people.
Oh, okay.
And they find a DM on Craigslist who shows up and has these magic dice that make them into their character and throw them into this Creatures and Caverns world.
Oh no, wait, yes, I have read that one. You told me about it. I think when we did our podcast or something. Yes.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Okay.
I would be Ravenous, the Raven familiar.
Okay.
Oh my God, really?
Yes,
right.
I love him so much.
Oh my God, he's so funny. If you haven't listened to that podcast, he is one of the most hysterical people. But what is incredibly funny about that entire series to me when I read it was, these people. If you've ever gamed in your entire life, these people. Like,
yeah. You can name. I mean, like, oh my gosh, my friend, so and so is totally this guy that I'm reading about. 100%.
Yeah. What was funny about that from a role-playing perspective to me is it actually gave me, having done nerd D&D since I was 14, it gave me a whole appreciation, because I loved in the story when he was talking about, like, for instance, you sleep, DM rolls a couple dice, nothing happens, you're moving on. I love the fact that they had to rest. And it goes into a lengthy description of them having to rest and then memorize spells.
Yes.
Be like, leave me alone. I have to memorize.
Yes, I loved it. Oh my goodness. I was
Best
like, oh, this
utilization
is actually
of the steed spell ever in the history of any gaming.
Horse.
Horse.
So awesome.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Okay, so what is your favorite role-playing game?
Oh man. Okay. Board game or video game, or does it matter?
Oh, well, I was
That was
doing
gonna be
tabletop,
completely
but
different.
let's
Okay.
open.
So here's my thing. I do not.
Wait, you cut
You're
out.
gone.
Cut out. Where'd you go?
We missed it. Oh my God, you're on. Okay.
Okay. No, we can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you. What's happening? Where did you go? We can see you.
You have an iPhone,
All right.
don't you?
Hold
There
on.
you
Hold
go.
on.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I've played some games of Dungeons and Dragons. That's the only one that I played though. And
Okay.
I other than that, I mean, after
So board game?
Risk, I hate it. I hate Risk, but I've also gotten into Catan with my kids, and they really like Catan. And then there's this game called Scythe that is really fun. I would say Scythe is probably my favorite board game right now.
Okay, video game.
BioShock.
Interesting.
Ooh.
What about you,
Okay.
CR? What's your favorite video game?
It's so hard. So I love the Assassin's Creed trilogy. I like the trilogy, the first couple, and then it gets a little weird. Like so I call it the trilogy. I also love Borderlands and the PC version of 7 Days to Die.
Borderlands
is just next level.
Hands down, is my favorite game to play.
Yeah.
My favorite game to watch get played is Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Resident Evil Code
Okay.
Veronica was fucking a brilliantly written, plot-filled video game. Like it is.
See, I'm still old. So it's not old school because they were out long before. So I love watching the Final Fantasy, like the original PlayStation versions. they were so advanced compared to everything else that like Xbox and everything else just barely caught up to. But I think the Final Fantasy stories are just beautiful.
Yeah, this isn't beautiful. It's very, very twisted, the Code Veronica story, but it's very well written because they end up on this island and they're being, anyway, it turns into this whole thing and it hasn't been re-released yet. And I've been dying because they've redone all the rest of them. And I'm like, fucking redo Code Veronica. Because you can only get it and play it like on original systems. It wasn't like an upgraded game. And anyway, it makes me sad.
I am a terrible person to watch somebody game. Because like, so Corey will play a game, right? And I'm like, hey, you just missed a box. Dude, what are you doing? Why would you choose that? What are you doing? What? That gun's not even decent. Like, what are you doing? And he's just like, by the end of it, his hands are like shaking as he's playing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm terrible. I'm a backseat gamer. So like, I'll be like, no, I don't want to play. And then I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why'd you choose that? Really? You chose that person?
Well,
are you even trying?
My boyfriend does something very different. I will go through like Borderlands and I will do all the sub things and I will do all the exploring and I will do all of the stuff. And he is like, you are not going fast enough. And I'm like, excuse me, there is a cave over here that we haven't gone into.
I haven't.
Not only that, but like, Skyrim is too much. Like, it's too fucking much.
I haven't finished Skyrim because I've been too busy like becoming the Archmage and becoming the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. Like, what? I don't have time to fight this dragon. I gotta own the world, you know?
So I gotta tell you this funny story is I started playing Skyrim because my boyfriend was playing Skyrim and he's like, you should play this. So I just started playing to try to catch up because of course his character was like whatever level. And
isn't that fun?
I'm playing it for like 3 weeks by myself. And then he's like, comes over and he's like, what is your character a vampire? How the fuck did you get your character to be a vampire? Like he went down this whole, like, how did you do this? And I'm like, I don't even know. Craziness. Okay, Chelsea, you get the final question, my love.
It's just, I feel like we could just spiral right now and like so many questions. Okay, no. So this is a question from before. You said TC Rivers was your pet name in grade school. Why didn't you go with that? Like you already had this fantasy built up in your head. Why wouldn't you just go with that?
I wanted to, and I just was there's a chance that I might release other works that might be like maybe children's stories or horror stories or something. I know because those are like so related.
I was like, so where were you going? They're like that.
Yeah.
Parallel.
That I don't have another pen name that I want to use, and I want to be known for the bench by my name. Like I want people to know, like, oh, Ty Carlson, the guy I went to high school with, or the guy I work with, or whatever. He wrote that book. So I kind of decided, this might be, I'll put TC Rivers in the background and we'll save it. We'll put it in a little pretty box and I'll just go with Ty Carlson for now.
And either write children's stories or horror stories or maybe children's horror stories that involve a lot of clowns.
Go. I'll just.
Oh my God, that would be a new genre. Children horror stories.
No, that is. That's what R.L. Stein is.
That's
not horror stories, though.
That is children's horror stories because you're not allowed to do it to children.
You're not allowed.
But society has changed because now you can show sex scenes to freaking 12-year-olds. So why can't you show somebody getting their arm ripped off?
Okay, that's a whole path we're not going down on this podcast. I said last question. You're done. Ty, hold up your book. Talk about your book for a minute. Shameless self-promotion.
All right, so The Bench is near future sci-fi. If you like twists and turns and character development, this book's definitely for you. You can find it on Amazon, or you can find it on any major book retailer. And if you order it, you're gonna probably cry, which is great. I want you to cry. You should cry. I want you to cry, and you should read it.
We're going to work on your elevator pitch for that. That just got really dark really quickly.
Listen, I'm 3-5% seltzers deep. It's not my fault, okay? I can't help it.
Dude, I'm 130 and I've had like 12 shots of vodka. Like, you need to calm down.
Oh
I'm
my goodness.
Self-proclaimed lightweight.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Ty, how do people contact you as an author? I'm
You can
saying
find
as
me
an
on
author
Twitter.
since you're 3 seltzers in and I don't need you giving
Yes.
away your home address.
No, don't come to my house. You will scare my children. You can
Sad.
find me on Twitter at TC Rivers. You can find me on Instagram at TC Rivers 85. And on Facebook, I have a public author page, Ty Carlson author.
I have another question. If you plan to write under the name TC Rivers, but you have all of your author stuff going to it, are you going to then write your TC Rivers stuff under Ty Carlson?
You know what? I guess we'll just have to see. Huh?
We are not drunkenly trying to do logic here. And you were already cut off, Chelsea. You were already cut off. That was how that went. I was wrapping it up. I know this.
Okay.
You both are blitzed, and I'm very out of any raspberry
Not even
mead that's made in England, but from Seattle, Washington. I'm very confused about that. Anyway, this has been Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. Our sponsor today has been Skunk Brothers Spirits. Absolutely check them out. Don't forget coupon code DWA10 to get 10% off and show that you're listening and drinking along with us. My co-host today has been C.R. Rice, although obviously she needs a timeout, as we're all aware. And our guest today has been Ty Carlson.
Don't count beers, Carlos.
What?
Don't count beers, Carlos. It's when it's always sunny. Never mind. Continue with your pitch.
Why are you still talking? This is the end of the podcast. You're supposed to shut it at this point.
I thought I was muted.
And this is why we continue to not be able to have nice things. We will see you next time.